A few weeks ago, you traveled with the remaining part of the coaching staff to Quebec to take a look at the Combine as far as that tournament was considered. Firstly, before we talk about that tournament and the upcoming draft here, for our viewership here, give us an indication potentially what draft picks you have available for the Charlottetown Islanders.
Well, that I already talked and mentioned about that deal with Gatineau. That ended up yielding the 5th overall pick. We don't have our own first-round pick, but we have Gatineau's pick. We were pretty excited for a stretch late into the season. We thought that could be potentially a lottery pick, but we have the 5th overall pick, and that's a really enviable position for us to be in, because a lot of teams want that pick. It's a really good draft. There's 3 high-end players at the top of the draft list. There's 2 really good goaltenders. So we've got that pick. We miss a couple of rounds in second and third rounds, but we have multiple picks in rounds after that. We have a 4th. We have 3 5ths, which we'll maneuver and try and posture to get up into the third and second round. So we have some options, but that 5th overall pick is a coveted spot right now.
And of course, there's people looking for that 5th pick overall. There's, as you indicated a couple of times there just in your last comment, but goaltender Mason McDonald, obviously a key ingredient for this hockey club moving forward next season. Potentially for development, the Flames might in fact keep him in Major Junior the season past that. Potentially again, you could have a couple of seasons still here in Charlottetown. Having said that, this coming draft here, you talked about top 3 being pretty good. 2 pretty significant goaltenders. As far as Gilles Tremblay is concerned and the rest of your coaching staff along with yourself, would you consider, having Mason McDonald already here, drafting one of those elite goaltenders with your 5th pick?
It's a consideration. You're a goaltender, George, and we talk about goaltending a lot. You can't have enough good goaltenders in your system, and we believe we've got some good kids that are on the development curve, that going in the right direction, and Nicholas Daw and Lucas House. Logan Cook is still on the radar, but when you look at the goaltending position we're currently in, both Mason and Darryl are 96-born athletes, so we've got to look to the future, and that's my job as a general manager. I can't just think about this coming year. We got to think about the years in the future, and there's a possibility Mason's only going to play 1 more year, so that elite goaltender is out there. We believe that the top 2 goaltenders are franchise-type goaltenders. Absolutely, it's a consideration.
You only have to look at the Montreal Canadiens when they have Jose Theodore, already a league MVP, and they draft Carey Price in that situation, obviously. So, but looking at, again, this draft, you've already mentioned about the coaching situation here, and coaches seeing this as a pretty significant place to land with the amount of talent that's here available over the next year or 2. Looking at this draft, as far as continuing to develop a pipeline through this draft, or when you have 3 17-year-old defensemen on the roster last year, you had a whole full forward combination of 16-year-olds. Is there a chance that you could see perhaps some of these draft picks being traded in Sherbrooke this year to make a stronger 18 and 19-year-old mix for the next 2 seasons here in Charlottetown?
Yeah, we've had lots of phone calls about picks, and I think most people will handicap our team by saying our D-core is still pretty young. That doesn't mean we don't believe in the D-core that we have. We've got Dexter Weber, Rio Legault potentially back as overagers, and then David Henley, Will Thompson, and Luc Duchesne. We really like the development curve on those guys, but to get a guy to replace that veteran presence that we lose in Ryan McKinnon is certainly top of mind with us, and it's going to require some finagling in the draft, whether it's trading young prospects to get the D player, that older player that we need, or by moving some of the draft picks that we have. So lots of scenarios. That's what makes the draft really interesting.
Since you arrived, Grant, you've had success in the Q draft with players like Goulet and Sprong, your Euro draft right now. You've got Rydstrom and Chalapik. They've all been key additions for this hockey club moving forward. Just not this past season, but again the next couple of years. A bit of a stumbling block has been in the U.S. here. You haven't been able to really get a player from the United States to come up here. Moncton has had success. Halifax has had a little bit of success. Cape Breton a bit as well. St. John possibly as well. But that's an area that you're still trying to develop.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a stumbling block. We drafted good players that just happen to be so good that U.S. colleges are after them. So, you know, it's I made the comment the other day. What we're really looking for in the U.S. is really good dumb hockey players that can't get into NCAA schools. And I say that jokingly, obviously, but our region, and I'm not taking anything away from the other teams, they've spent some resources and spent some time, and they're able to acquire some U.S.-born players. The way our league is set up, we have to draft 2 American kids, and we do that per the rules. And we're still working on a couple of those kids that we drafted. It just so happens that, you know, they've got the Harvards and the BCs and the BUs of the world that are after them as well. So it's not really a stumbling block in my mind. I think we go about it, we draft. We have a really good presence in the U.S. in terms of our coverage. We're going to draft good U.S. players. We have to do our homework a little bit more on whether or not they're going to be willing to come across the border. But we're still not out of the woods with a couple of the players that we drafted.
Just a final question, of course, and for the season ticket holders watching Inside the Islanders, this segment right here, just a final thought, Grant, on the off-season here and what your expectations are for this Islanders hockey club moving into next season.
Well, we're in off-season mode, obviously, and we'll pay a great deal of attention to the draft coming up and in the process while we're trying to hire a head coach. But really the key now is these young athletes, whether you're 16 becoming 17, 17 becoming 18, and really 18-year-old players becoming 19-year-olds, the growth and the physical development is paramount right now. So a lot of attention being put on the training, the development of their physical and their individual skills. We need players like Bradley Kennedy and Mitchell Balmas and Keith Getson to come back and take a step forward. We can't afford to stall right now because on potential alone, I think this hockey club has great potential. Potential is only good if it's met, and it's our job now to expedite the process of their physical development. We come back here, we come back with a little bit more swagger, we're a little bit older, fill in the pieces of the puzzle that we need to fill in, and I think the sky's the limit for this hockey club. I think our fans see it. I think the excitement in the Eastlink Center this past season has never been higher, and we expect that to continue to grow.
I said a final question, and again, it's going to be a second final question. Update on goaltender Mason McDonald.
Spoke to him today, actually, doing really well. He's still probably a week or so away from getting on the ice to start his training again, but the knee is almost completely healed. There was no surgery required. During the playoffs, we keep these things a little bit quiet. He had a second-degree MCL tear, fully recoverable. Calgary doctors, our own doctors, saw Mason. He's on the road to full recovery and doing really well. And I'll take this time to announce that he's been named to the Program of Excellence goaltending program, where he, along with our goaltending coach Paul Drew, one of 5 goaltending coaches that will be brought to Calgary, where the best of the best will be brought in. And Mason's curve right now is his focus is to try to make the World Junior, and being named to this program is the right step in that direction. So Mason's recovering very, very well, and we expect a full recovery.
For Islanders General Manager Grant Sonier, I'm George Matthews on Inside the Islanders.